Hello friends! Today I am taking you on a fantastic artistic journey through texture, an acrylic abstract grunge background with colors resembling that favorite pair of denim jeans with the faded knees, and of course we will finish with the pièce de résistance, an intriguing oil portrait which includes a member of the avian family. So grab your favorite travel mug filled with the delicious beverage of your choosing and let's go! Alright, so I am working on a 24 by 30 inch canvas primed with a colored gesso. I did this because it's going to make your viewing easier, because let's face it, it is difficult to discern between white canvas and white paste. And I am starting by using a palette knife to lay down some crackle paste, aptly named because of the cracks that form in the surface as the paste dries. I'm applying it at random because I really don't want the entire canvas to have a cracked surface. That's just my personal preference. If you want a whole cracked surface, do it. So now that I've exhausted my crackle paste application, I move on to applying modeling paste. Now I use modeling paste all the time to texture canvas. It's incredibly versatile. You can use it with stencils, you can make designs with different tools like your palette knife, and you can add other things to it like sand or wood shavings to create different textural effects. And when it dries, it holds the designs and the texture in place. Yep, it's magical. Now that all the texture is dried, I apply a layer of gesso to seal the surface and let that dry completely. And then we are ready to paint. I start by misting my entire surface with water, then applying Payne's Gray, which has these beautiful bluish tones. I highly recommend purchasing a spray mister instead of using a regular spray bottle when using this technique because you will achieve better control of the water saturation and you avoid creating huge puddles. I chose a darker, transparent color like Payne's Gray because it allows the texture to be brought into sharper relief and allows you to see all of the points of interest created by the texture. It gives you ideas of where you want to go next. Of course, any transparent color will work for this technique, and water will make your colors even more transparent. Your color scheme is ultimately whatever you want it to be, but just remember, it will often determine the feeling of a painting, the mood, if you will. If you choose a bright, vibrant color, it's probably not going to give off a calming vibe, just like grays and muted colors aren't going to give off an energetic vibe. I live in the Northeast, and sometimes my color schemes reflect the seasons. Right now, we are entering the cold, dark days of winter. The absence of vibrant color is palpable. Yes, seasonal affective disorder is upon me and will probably affect my color schemes for the next few months. So part of the reason why I use the spray mister so much during this part of it is because it does keep my surface nice and moist so that if I want to, I can remove some of the paint, which I am doing right now, is I'm just taking a paper towel and I'm blotting some of the paint away. I don't need all of these dark spots and places, and I want to see what's underneath it, but it also gives it this really kind of cool grungy effect. So now that the Payne's Gray has dried completely, because you want it to dry completely, otherwise you'll end up with mud, it's time to warm this background up a bit, and to help with that, I'm using a burnt umber. I'm repeating the same process by alternating between the spray mister and the paint. But I also want to keep the surface relatively moist, so I can remove some of the burnt umber just like I did with the Payne's Gray. This process of putting on and removing paint gives the painting an interesting layered effect. It really adds to the depth and dimension of the painting. I want to see some of the first layers of paint applied in the finished piece. It's kind of like tree rings. When you cut down a tree, you can see exactly where it started as a sapling. I think paintings are like that. The trick is not getting carried away and covering up all of the painting's history. So another fun tool to use is a rubber brayer, commonly used in printmaking. I'm using an unbleached titanium and just rolling it gently over the surface to pick up some of the texture and lighten up the center of the piece. It looks pretty messy, but once again, I'm going to be removing some of the paint. Look at that. There I go. Removing paint. I feel like I've done that a lot in this video. So now the center of the painting is successfully lighter. So of course, what am I going to do? I'm going to darken the edges. And why am I darkening the edges with this Mars Black? I am doing that because it actually draws the eye inward to where the focal point is going to be, which is this point, funnily enough, I have no idea what the focal point is going to be. But I'm actually using a combination of Mars Black and Payne's Gray and combining the two so that it creates almost this vignette effect. And there I go again, removing paint. Surprising. It's such a departure for me. So who doesn't love shiny things? Well, I do. So a little bit of metallic is never a bad thing. And I'm using a warm metallic, this gold spray paint, which I actually spritz with the mister again and then blot some of it out. I also want to have some drips in there. So I take some of the Payne's Gray, add it to the top, spray it with the mister, and tilt the canvas to get some of those drips, which you can then use your paper towel or a rag or something in order to blot some of it away that you don't want while it's still wet. So here I am, and once I'm done fondling my painting, I will start with oil paints and putting a focal point on there. When oil painting on top of an abstract background, I start by using transparents, in this case Payne's Gray. I'm basically blocking in the darkest areas using paint diluted with Galca gel, which not only speeds up the drying time but also increases the transparency of the paint. With transparent oils, you really want to work from light to dark because you can layer darker transparent colors on top of lighter transparent colors, but it doesn't really work the other way around, unlike opaques where you work from dark to light. So getting the basic form of the focal point onto the canvas is kind of like building the frame of a house. You've laid the foundation with the background, now the form of the focal point has to be built. And just like building a house, you aren't concerned about the tiny details like where am I putting my wall clock until you actually have walls. The refining and the detail are the last stops of the journey. That's when you can have fun putting reflection into the eyes or refining the shape of a nostril. You can reshape the lips and add more highlights. Once her face was finished, I decided that I wanted to up the contrast in the chin and the neck area because it makes the image pop off the canvas more. And I feel like when you add a little bit more contrast, it does make the image look a little more three-dimensional. Now, you may be wondering why I put a bird on her head. Well, why not? I mean, I think the bird and the woman calmly observing each other makes for interesting imagery. Because I don't think many people would react that way if a bird landed on their head. I, for one, have had a bird land on my head before, and my reaction certainly wasn't one of calm bemusement. They actually kind of look like they know each other. Hey, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button, please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And I will see you next time. Love you guys. Bye.